Hi, it's the girl out there right here with you. It's me, Cindy. And this week I am here with Jessica Cerato. Hello,
Hello.
Jessica.
Oh,
So exciting. I feel like I talk to you every day. Well, I pretty much do.
every discussion we have is magical. We just don't record all of them, right? This is the
I know. So welcome back to the podcast. It's been a while since you were on here last, and
yeah.
so much has happened for the two of us since that last podcast. So when I was sitting here, and you can probably hear there are birds chirping wildly outside because while you are in a cozy sweater, I am in the warmth of Maui.
Oh my goodness.
So very exciting. I was sitting here the other day and thought, you know what? I think tomorrow is the day I need to talk to Jessica on the podcast. And what I always love about you and I is, you know, numbers so well, but there's something about my intuition that always says, I think tomorrow is the number day. I think tomorrow is this day. I think this is it. And then I check in with you, and for some reason, the way my intuition works is, although I don't know numbers, I always seem to know with my feelings
Yes.
how these numbers work with you. And then we've been able to combine our two intuitions so well. So do you want to talk about what today is? And then
Yeah. Today is this beautiful 8 energy. It's the last 8 of the year. And this 8 is all about momentum. And it's this, if you think about the number 8 of going up the loop and down the loop, it's really saying goodbye to what we want to leave behind in 2021, and then dropping that first seed of inspiration for 2022. Just starting to dream and put things out there that we want, like this. The 8 is like the lazy river to me, that we want this lazy river to like scoop up and take and like allow it to flow into the next year. And we also have this 4 of hearts influence, which is really about this, like the stability and structure in our relationships and how we feel connected, and most importantly, connected to ourselves, and really creating this beautiful boundary out of love around the things that we want to see grow so they have space to grow. Like, I laugh, I know people will be listening to this, but if you happen to be watching, or if you can just imagine in your mind, if you think of a regular playing card and the 4 of hearts, the hearts are on each corner of the card. And this is unique, right? Because think about this, like these hearts could be placed anywhere on the 4. Why are they placed here? For me, they're placed here because it creates this beautiful box boundary. But it's not to constrict us. It's to really create this beautiful blank canvas, this beautiful blank space right in the middle of a card. And that's to give us space to grow. It's like when we plant a flower, we plant a seed, we need to make sure that it has space to grow. And that's what we're doing today. We're really like being intentional about what we want to see grow and creating space so that it can, and then allowing the momentum to kind of do the work for us, and take everything down, whatever way you want to look at, take everything up the river that you don't want to take into the next year, and down the river everything that you want to take with us. And yeah, because we're getting like into these last couple of days of energy before the shift comes for 2022.
I love that.
Mhm.
Um, I love I love how numbers don't make sense, but then that the way you've described it just does totally make sense. And I was talking to our dear friend Meredith the other day on a Zoom I was doing with her, and she was saying about 2022 and how you described it to her, because obviously each year is filled with numbers,
Yeah.
and I was saying to her how I really feel like this is a year of alignment for me. It's a year for me, and what I really want for my clients and what I want for those in my life. I want them to feel like it's a time for us to get aligned for what is coming after it. And so that was my focus. It's a goal for me, for those I work with. And then she said, "That's what Jessica's
Can
done."
you believe, without even talking about it, you, based on your intuition, was like, oh, I think 2020 is gonna like the year of alignment. And me, literally, based on the numbers, my my quote that I've like put out and did in my annual forecast was 2022 colon the year of alignment. Come on, right?
I love it. Which has, for those who don't, like, we have done this, the two of us,
Yeah.
for the last year.
Oh my
I
gosh.
will write a post for anyone who knows us, because now we are doing work trainings together.
Yeah.
I'll write a post and you will write a post. Mine will be very feely like, yours will be very number like, oh, so beautifully written. And then we'll go back together and you'll say, go look at my post. And they will be identical, the
Yeah.
same.
Oh my gosh.
So then what Meredith had tried to explain to me was how you would describe the numbers. And if you can go into that a little bit, just because it's so great the way you explained it. So go to it.
Yeah, I think so. The first thing is we change from our yearly energy from a 5. So 2021 is 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1 equals 5 into a 6. So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2. And the 5, just think of this rocking horse. It's this really back and forth energy. And for some of us, this was really, I mean, it was a ride. All of us, it was a ride. But some of us, the ride got really fast. And some of us, it wasn't a rocking horse. It was like a merry-go-round. And some of us, like, we're in literally a washing machine of like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the 6 comes. And this is all about, like, we're getting off the ride. And just imagine, like, when you get off this ride at a fair and you're just kind of like dizzy and disoriented. And you're just trying to take your first few steps forward. This is what the 6 is. Again, if we think of the visual of the playing card, the 6 is 2 straight lines. It just looks like rungs of a ladder, or like stepping forward on a lily pad, or if you're old enough to play Frogger, the game of Frogger, right? So this is really getting aligned, getting on our path. But our path is going to look different than everybody else's path, right? No two paths are the same. And so we really need to focus on slow and steady alignment. And if you think about the year, it's all 2s, right? The 0 in numerology is not a number, it's a symbol, and it's used to amplify the numbers around it. So for me, when I really felt into this, 2022, the 2 is all about connection and intuition and collaboration and relationship. And for me, this says the most important relationship, your priority in 2022 is first with yourself. That first 2. You need to get aligned with yourself. And every month is a different kind of alignment. We're going to start off with a doozy in January, Cindy. It's all about aligning with our truth. Like, oh my gosh. Okay. But we have this January, and it's like 2022, the first 2, aligning with yourself, really like being truthful and honest and figuring out what you want. And then this 0, this symbol, can look like this mirror, or like this kind of this portal that you go through or you look through. And on the other side, there are 2s, double 2s. And this represents with others. But you cannot get in alignment with others unless you are first aligned with yourself. You cannot get something mirrored back to you unless you are strong, right? Because if you are not aligned, you will get mirrored back non-alignment. Is that a word? Right? It's like it's not an accurate reflection, right? You cannot get mirrored back to you unless what you have, like, unless you are sure of yourself. So that's going to be so important this whole year. It is all about the 2s. We are going to be feeling this connection and this collaboration, but the most important one is with ourselves first, and
Love
then
it.
with others. Yeah.
I love that. And this just gets me so excited because, again, without talking to you, you and I have both are doing our monthly memberships.
Yeah.
And January, I'm doing is truth and vulnerability with yourself,
Oh my gosh.
which I think that is so good.
Right?
Yeah, which because I believe before, it's going to be all these different months, and we can talk about what the memberships are, but just thinking about it I kept thinking, well, in order to start, we have to actually begin with sort of that shadow of ourselves, which means it's not all going to be fluffy and beautiful. We have to sort of be uncomfortable first and look at the pieces of ourselves in a space with the other tutus, creating a community around us while we look at ourselves. So
I love it. It's like
yeah,
that feeling of like the seven is like when you're on top of the diving board and like that feeling between the knowing and the doing, like between when you're standing up there and like the actual jump. Like
yeah,
you get the butterflies in your right? It's like what you just said. It's like you have to deal with that first.
yes,
And again, it's not a race with anybody else. But the cool thing is when you know you have the support of people around you, like
yeah,
when you know you have people cheering you on and being like, you can do it, like then I just think like for me, remembering of this high diving board when I was little, like jumping off the high diving board and it was like great that you feel the water and you feel that rush. And then once you come out of the water, like I would see like my parents or my brother and my sister be like clapping and being like, yay, you did it. Like that's what the community brings
yes,
also, right? This like support and this like celebratory energy too of when you do the hard work, right? When you
yes.
actually jump, which is cool.
Yes, and so that's I wanted to bring us together too to talk about the few things that we are doing, just so people can hear them on a different in a different way, podcast, because you've been on here, which I'm going to say for people who haven't heard it, to go back to our first episode where we talk all things numerology,
Yeah.
which is what you do. But we, you know what, I'm going to go to our dream shop that we do rather
Yes.
than calling it a
Yes.
workshop.
Love it.
Because sometimes when people hear work, they get overwhelmed. So let's reframe that and call it a dream shop. So we created Bewitched, Bewildered, Be You in the fall. And we created it really fast.
We did. It's one of those conversations where it's like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Let's do
Yeah.
it. And one of the things I know you're saying that in 2022 is to have patience with ourselves, but when you and I get our minds together, sometimes things go really fast. And so it's a 5-week dream shop that we do. And it had a group of people come together really quickly. And they all signed up, and from not just in Vancouver, from many places.
Yeah.
And it was just ways to use your intuition, and tools and things to come out of a magic hat for us, to use and build your intuition. And you can talk about it too, obviously. But I loved those 5 weeks together. I did, as many people will know, I probably cried every single time we got together. One of the things that came out, I think it was week 1, was how you talked about obviously how we all have, because everybody got their own numerology chart, or is that
Yep.
and you talked about how we all every single person has different numbers, or their ruling numbers will be different, obviously, and then their chart will look different. So how they feel and see the world just by that is going to be different. So how they use their intuition is going to be different, which is how I try to explain it, but sometimes it doesn't come out so clearly, as how you were able to show it to people.
Hmm.
And so then how we were able to all talk together, you could see in a group how people were able to say, well, this is how I feel, and this is how I know, and this is how I see. So we were able to talk and expand and grow our intuition in so many different ways.
Yeah. It was
Um,
so beautiful to see that trust in the intuition grow. It was
yes,
so cool.
you go ahead and talk.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's just because sometimes I think we think that we don't have intuition or we compare our intuition to others. And so for example, like I'm sure everyone listening to the podcast, they know you, right? And they're like, "Oh, but I don't feel things or I cannot sense things." Well, you know what? Either can I. I literally feel nothing. Like, but for me, the intuition happens in my mind, with these connection of dots and these symbols and these numbers, right? And so, and other people in the course, their intuition happens physically when they're actually doing something, by using some of the things that we teach about, like using cards or using pendulums or use, right, or like when moving their body. And other people feel their intuition when they are more still. And so imagine if you are coded, because this is exactly what the numbers are. It's like your DNA, you're coded. Imagine if you are coded to feel your intuition in movement. And yet you are trying to access your intuition like someone else, and you are sitting for hours in meditation, getting so frustrated because you don't, right? Like, and so just by knowing, oh, okay, like, and it's not saying that you can't teach and learn to access your intuition in a variety of ways, which is what we did in the dream shop. I love that word. But it's finding which way is maybe the easiest or the more accessible for you.
Yes.
Like, so you get that win. You get that feeling of, aha, I do have intuition, like and then you start to trust it. And then you can explore and have fun and experiment with other ways. And see kind of what works for you. And knowing that like some modalities just are fun, but they might not speak to you in the way that others do. But having like a safe space to explore and talk about. And so many questions I feel came up with like, okay, I thought this, or when I did this activity, when I did this meditation or whatever we were doing, this came to mind. Is that really like my intuition or is that like my imagination? And
Yes.
so I know we spent some time talking about like discerning between our ego and our intuition. And I think that was really powerful too, because we both have both, we all have both.
Yes.
And it was just so cool to hear how others experience it and just to see it blossom and grow and have more trust. And then knowing that they were most likely sharing with other people in their life too, right?
Yes.
And so then the ripple effect that this can really have, with our families, and it's just so cool.
Well, that was it. You saw some people who really wanted to be in the course and saying that they had never shared it with other people in their life, or
Yes.
which is what I was like at the beginning. I felt a lot of shame around my intuition for some reason, which was even some of the conversations we had. Why do we feel it's okay to say that, I am a teacher, but it's not okay for me to say that I do intuitive work? What is that for us, that there are one is okay and one is shameful? And so then those conversations coming up, and then to finally say like, or I feel silly going into a store, or, and
Yeah.
so our work was more than just the tools. It was uncovering and unmasking these big heavy feelings we have around intuition, which is the gift within us all.
Yeah.
So really, okay, and why is it okay for somebody else to have intuition but not
Right.
for us?
And then like so then you're like outsourcing your power. And so I laugh like Cindy, like this just makes me laugh every time we say it, but like I can't not say it because it's so true. Like we don't want people to need us, right? We don't want people to outsource their power because you have exactly what anyone else has, right? You just need to learn to access it and to harness it. And so, like, that's what I feel people were able to do. And I always love how you say, like, intuition is a muscle and you just
Yes.
really need to use it. And so, what I'm also most excited about is like, even after the course is now done, the course was over a few weeks ago, and the
Yeah.
chat is still very active. And
Yeah.
this is what we want, right? Because
Yes.
we want this. You get access to all of the recordings.
Yeah.
Cindy, we share a lot of like meditations and activities that, you know, just like kind of lifting weights. Like if you do it once, you feel good that day, but it's also important to keep doing those. And then this way I know because I can see people in the course are still accessing the recordings, are still accessing the meditations and are just kind of practicing and taking it further. And that's also the cool part about it is it's not, yeah, it's the 5 week where the dream shop is contained, but it's meant to be like a trampoline or a springboard. Yeah.
Yes. And that's what I just think it's so exciting, and something that you and I are doing again.
Yes.
We're opening it again, and we're doing it in January. And so I thought, oh, well, you know what, let's actually talk about it. Let's
Yeah.
create it
Let's
onto a
actually promote it this
let's
time.
actually promote it, and we'll do a podcast. We'll share it. We have so many people from that last one that, they've talked about it and said what they're like, how they're feeling open about it. And the fact even that they're still talking on the chat, and
Yeah.
they're still part of a community. I love that. So I really wanted to say that we've decided to open it on a Saturday morning so that we can get all the time zones.
Yes. Yeah. More accessible for everybody.
More accessible. So we will be doing it Saturday mornings at 8 Pacific Standard Time, and then it'll start. What was the date? January
18th. No,
18th.
15th. Oh my goodness. Here's the person with
Yes,
numbers. Can't even remember the dates. The 15th, January 15th.
January 15th, and it'll go for 5 weeks. And so we'll start to actually put our info out on, what do
Yeah.
you
So you
call
can
it?
you can sign up. And if you have questions, let us know
Yes.
too. Yeah.
So we'll put those things together, because we're still probably in a little bit of holiday mode here, but very excited for that. And the other thing that, like you were saying, with the 2022 and the communities, I had talked to you a few weeks ago, now that we are sort of this invisible thread that's between the two of us, is you have, which now I'm part of with yours, what do you call it? Your membership?
The uncommon denominator.
The uncommon. It is called the uncommon.
Yeah.
And so I was asking you, what does this mean? What is it that you're doing? So you can tell me what you're doing.
Yeah. So the uncommon denominator for me is like, of course it's math. It's like the variability in the equation, right? We have all this universal energy, but what's really important is our own personal energy. And I wanted a really accessible way for people to access numerology, right? And, you know, a lot of people in my membership now study numerology, and some people don't. They have no knowledge of it, and it's really for everybody. And it's a way for I do a journal and a calendar. So every day you get this. I think it's beautiful. I created it online, but you have like what are the possibilities of the day, like the empowered side, the disempowered side, and some journaling prompts that you can think about or actually write down whatever you're feeling, and some ways to really take advantage and harness the energy. We have daily texts that go out, and I always laugh because like everyone says like, oh, just when I was going to do this, and I get the text from you, and it totally changed my day. And because all of my texts are based on the time of day in which I think people will need it most. So my texts come randomly, seemingly randomly, but they are all pre-planned by me, when you might need it most to help you get through the energy of the day. And when we have a group check-in in the middle of the month, where I like to call love seat coaching, where people bring questions or things that they're facing, and I look at their actual chart where they are at the moment. But the most important thing for me is the monthly personal forecast. So I record on video a monthly forecast for everyone in the subscription based on their personal energy, looking at their personal month, where their cards are, what planetary season they are, what year they are. And then I do an intuitive pull. So cards and energy that will help them again, like make the most of the month. And I share with them, an action that they can take, what's going to be their biggest blessing, what's going to be their biggest challenge. And I love it because this is something that they can go back to throughout the month. So I share it on a platform where you can change the speed, you can listen on the go, however you want. And this monthly forecast is just helping you get prepared for the month, but also this beautiful support and reminder throughout the month, when you really need to, again, like refocus on you
Yes.
and don't get distracted. And it's like so cool how every single forecast is so different.
Yeah,
So
that's
different.
amazing.
And it's like, wow, we're all in this, for January, we're all in this 6 year and we're all in this 7 months. But holy, how you are going to experience it is so different than how I'm going to experience it. And if we don't know that, I kind of feel like sometimes insecure or like doubting myself, being like, I really feel this, but literally no one around me does. Am I wrong? And no, you're not wrong. It's just your energy is different. So
Yeah,
yeah.
see, and that's what I find is so interesting, right? Like when you know that, you're almost empowered, so that
Yes.
even if you're if it's going to be a heavy year, like even for me thinking 2022, okay, it like it's going to be a month to get aligned and it's going to move slow. That's okay. When you actually go in there with your goggles on and you're like, okay, well, what do I need then to get me through this? Rather than like, whoa, like,
Yeah. And it's I love this is what I love about your membership is like you send these daily texts and they're kind of just like tips for the day.
yeah.
And this just reminds me too that it's like one step at a time.
Mhm.
And this is going to be the energy of the six as well. It's like we can't focus on how or when or where the next step is going to take us. Like all we can focus on is the present moment and trust ourselves enough that when the next step comes into focus, that we're just going to take it and we're
Mhm.
not going to second guess ourselves. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Which I think is, yeah. So I had heard, I think my biggest thing always has, and now I'm so excited because now I'm just doing full on energy.
I
Like,
love it.
so this is now my job. And so exciting. And you had told me about this in one of our many conversations a few months ago or last month even, that this is what you were creating. And I thought this makes perfect sense. This is so good. And it's how, I have all these beautiful clients, but they're not wanting to be with me, they don't need a one-to-one session.
No.
And so not every month. And I thought, well, how can that's a wonderful way to support people, to keep them together, keep them focused and not having to pay. So it's a
Yeah.
beautiful way to keep your community of people together for a very small amount of money, really, and to keep your community strong and keep everybody, building the muscles.
Yeah.
And so it's like I say, where it's like, well, you know what, you go to the gym every month, or like I say for people, because people who know me, and not that I'd say there's nothing wrong with this, I have not watched TV in 9 years. And
Yeah.
so I say, like you pay your Netflix membership, and some people pay for many different ones. To me, it's like it's paying for your education, it's paying for your education of self, and or you pay for one last bottle or one less bottle of wine a month kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're paying for your soul membership. And within that you're getting well, similar to yours, it's just a little different, but yes,
Yeah.
I give you every day an idea, and some ideas you may like and some ideas you won't, but they're every time you read it, it's giving you an idea for what you could do for yourself, whether it's like, you know what, change your sheets today, or give yourself a foot massage, and to think, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this enough for myself. And then within that, it's like journals and meditations, and what I really like is like yours, group Zooms, so that people can come together. And then, because I've saw that in ours, I saw
Yeah.
when people came together and had a space where they could talk and be seen and heard, it was so good. They just need that space to go like, oh, I didn't realize that was what was happening, or I didn't think about it. And so to be able to create that for people where it's like, okay, I know next week I have my Zoom time, I know I have that, I think that is a lot.
Yeah.
That's what
And
we
just a
need.
beautiful place where you don't have to, because another thing in January that's really going to be prevalent, just everybody warning, is this feeling of needing to like over explain things. Like when you feel your truth and like, do you know when like make a decision and you feel you have to have the word because. Like, I'm going to do this. Well, because, I didn't do it yesterday and so I have like we use this word because a lot. And this is really going to be in the universe. Why? Because the word why is also going to be in the universe, right? And so we really need to be strong in January to say I did this and delete the word because and because it's going to happen, when someone asks us why, then we actually use the word, but just in solo, we just say because, right? We
Mm.
don't need to explain. And I think that's what the group sessions do, is you can come and you can have these really powerful conversations, because we don't need the precursor of explanation of sometimes that we have to have with others in our life, of like explaining how we came to this. Whereas like in these conversations, we'll just be like, so, I met this another guy this week, right? And his name was like, and I just think it's so and there's zero, like, I believe strongly in this, that both you and I create spaces where there is zero judgment. And
No.
that's so important.
Yes.
Zero judgment and zero comparison. And
Yes.
those are two energies that are, prevalent, and that is non-negotiable in our spaces. And I think, I really truly believe that everyone needs spaces like that, um, where those are two things that you just don't have to even think about. And how cool is that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, oh yeah, I am, I just am thinking now more and more like just about how exciting this can be. And it does mean, if I'm looking back, and probably for you too, in my journey so far of the choices I've made, in I'm stumbling over my words as I'm thinking so fast. The first choice about 10 years ago was to say I was choosing myself. And then it meant I had to start diving in, which
Yes.
meant taking courses, which meant accepting things, which meant learning things, which did mean investing in and taking time. And sometimes people will say, like, "Oh, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I have the time." And I will say that it does take time. It does. But it's worthwhile time. And I know that for the people who have just been doing the membership now for in mine and probably for yours, when they actually do invest in and sit, like they're creating cozy spaces for it's not terrible time, like you're investing into like yourself.
Yep.
And so it's a switch of like you're going to use, so it's like, oh, I have to wake up a few minutes early and read a book for me, or I have to learn how to journal, or I have to, it's training that muscle to switch to um hating yourself to
Hmm.
loving yourself. It's uncomfortable at first because we're not used to doing that. So like I say, it's the first step was recognizing I'm ready to heal. And then the journey goes. And it's not like that. It is like,
Yeah. It's so funny when you were saying that, I just got this really strong vision of like, you know, just think about like where your house is and how you, like, the first road that you come out from your house when you're driving. And you kind of automatically put the blinker on one way, right? Like, I can just see my house, okay, going left, and I wait there, right? Going right is like weird and uncomfortable, right? But the more that you choose it, it becomes just as easy as turning left. So
yes.
this is the whole thing with these like daily little tasks. It's retraining your mind to look in another direction, and not always having to look in that direction, but at least having the choice and knowing that you can put your blinker on like either way. But just think of how many things you do in your life out of pure habit. And this is just kind of interrupting that ego, because that is the habits are in the ego mind, of interrupting that and just being like, and you still might choose it, but
Yep.
choosing it not out of habit, but out of choice. Every morning with my kids, it's like, I choose kindness. It's like, why do we have to choose this every day? Well, because you can't choose just once, right? You have to continue to choose and choose and choose again. And that's kind of cool because you can also change your mind. Um, yeah, so it's just these little reminders to choose and maybe, yeah, turn your blinker a different way. Do you guys call it blinkers in Canada? Now I'm laughing. I'm like, does anyone know what I'm talking about with blinkers in the
I
car?
think I call it a blink.
Like, sometimes I'm like so clear, and then I'm like, wait, did that sound totally turn signal? If you didn't get the blinker,
I think we all
metaphor.
know
It
what
is
you're playing.
okay, you got it.
I understand.
The
I
indicator, the turn indicator. Here we go. Now I'm getting very formal with my car talk.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think though, there's always that fresh start for 20, like the next year,
Yep.
and the things you want to invest in and what you want to focus on. And I think, some people will choose and some people won't, or some people will start for a little bit, even a little bit, even if you choose for, a month, you're doing a little bit for yourself, or 2 weeks.
Yep.
It's a choice that you've made, and that's a great little bit. And so to not be hard on yourself, but I really I enjoyed today. I enjoyed this conversation, and for people who want to, even knowing that little bit for the numbers, right? If they
Yeah.
even hear just that little portion, so they go in to the year going, okay, I know what's ahead. I think that is good for people to know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have a free resource on my website. If you are listening and you want to know your ruling number, if you want a quick
Yes.
calculation, you can just go to my website and you can download it right away. And so you can kind of just get a sense of what your ruling number is. And, I think just like yours, Cindy, on my social media, I offer just a lot of free, fun, educational resources that just get you start thinking about numbers. But again, like if you're someone who doesn't speak in numbers, the cool thing is like as Cindy does, it's like she intuitively knows without actually knowing the numbers. So it's just also fun to play and yeah, like to see
Yes.
like and notice numbers around you, right? And that's just part of your intuition and yeah.
Yes, and we will be doing Dream Shop, or
Yes.
or Bewitched Bewildered Be
Yes.
You. And if you want to come play with us, we will be putting that up in the next week or so, and we would love to have you come with us.
So
So
much fun.
yes,
Yeah.
oh, thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. And
Enjoy your
everyone
day.
enjoy, yes, and enjoy the shift into 2022.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Thank you.
Bye.